How's it going, mate? Thanks for sending me your first swing in. I appreciate it. Right, so I've just gone through your questionnaire and made a note of some of the answers that you come up with. So it looks like you've got some miss hits when you go and play and practice, and your main miss with regards to the shot shape is a hook, right? So first lesson in, I want to kind of address those two things first and foremost, right? So, if I was standing next to you on a range and I'm observing your shot pattern, observing kind of the contact you're making with the ball, we're going to find some miss hits in there. We're going to find some shots which hook as well, right? So the diagnosis with regards to the miss hit, first and foremost, is that when you move back on your backswing, you're not moving the weight forward enough, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, you can see your head stays pretty much in the box, right, as you make your way up to the backswing, but those two red lines outside your hips and where that yellow circle is, you can clearly see that your hips, the lower body, are moving more over your trail foot at the top of the swing, rather than moving forward over your lead foot, right? Now, this is important because, across the board, whichever pro you're looking at and gathering data from, at the top of their swing, what you start to see before the club starts coming down, right, which would be about there for Mac O'Grady. That's who I've got up there on the right side of the screen. I've just flipped him around and made him a lefty look. But basically, the point I want to try and get across is, before the club starts moving down, right, to hit the ball, what all these pros start to do is they start to push down under their lead foot, right? In basic, we can go deeper into that as well with regards to how you push down and the pressure moving towards your toes before it then moves back into your heel through impact, right? But what you see across the board, and I've done a lot of research into this because I've got one of these pressure mats, right, which I get people on, and I get a lot of data. So I've done a lot of research into it as well. And like I said, that all of them pretty much across the board are all pushing down under their lead foot before this club actually starts moving down, right? So the question is, the problem with most amateurs is they're not in a position to push down under their lead foot before the club starts moving down, right? So one of the things I start to do with people to enable that to happen is just explain how, on the backswing, the weight, which is just a fancy term for moving the centre of your hips either over your trail foot or more over your lead foot, right? So you can see that arrow there with Mac O'Grady is more sort of over towards his lead foot, right? And if I get rid of those arrows and maybe do this in green, you can see as he gets to the top, you look at the space between those two red lines, one between his left pocket, one between his right pocket. As he gets up to the top, he's actually creating some space in here next to his left pocket, away from that red line, right? Whereas when you get up to the top, right, when you get up to the top there, you can see your right hip, your left hip, your trail hip, is swaying into that red line, and you've actually created the space here next to your lead hip, right? So that's kind of the giveaway. Mac O'Grady's got the space next to his trail hip, which means his hips are moving more towards his lead foot at the top of the swing. Yours have swayed over your back foot, right? So then, from that position, you're not able to start the downswing properly by kind of settling into your lead foot and then pushing down into your lead foot properly. It looks like you do a great job of really getting your hips forward, right? You do a great job of kind of really making an effort to get them forward, but you wouldn't have to sway that much, right? You wouldn't have to sway that much with your hips if they weren't swaying away from the target that much in the backswing to start with, right? I hope I've explained that properly for you so that you understand it, right? So that's the first thing I'd work on. I'd work on getting your hips more forward at the top of the swing, and then that will help your low point, which is then going to help you with your ball striking, right? Normally the feedback, you know, with the good players I work with who start moving the hips forward at the top of the swing, it's night and day, right, with regards to their ball striking. A lot more confidence, swinging it faster, that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing, right? We've got to get the low point more forward to stop you mishitting it. And we're going to do that by moving your weight forward, moving your hips more forward, right? And the way to go about that, very simply, and I made a video. I'll maybe send you the link to the video. You've maybe seen it on YouTube. It's got a lot of views. But basically what I did was I got a stick on the ground in the middle of my stance there. And all we're trying to do, right, is you put like a head cover or something in your tailbone, right, at the bottom of your back. And what you're trying to do is you're just trying to get the tailbone moving forward of this stick during your backswing, right? That's all you're trying to do. And then what you start to find is when you video yourself, you've cut out all this space here. And you can see Mac O'Grady, his lead hip. His lead hip does not move off that red line, look. His lead hip does not move off that red line. You see what I mean? Whereas you've got all this space here, right? So that's the drill, right? Just the stick on the ground, move your tailbone, excuse me, move your tailbone more towards the target. So that's the first thing. The next thing, and I'll maybe get rid of these lines because I want to illustrate. Yeah, there you go. So I want to illustrate the next thing. The next thing, I'm going to flip you around in a minute and look at your swing from the down the line view. But I want to show you. And you know, this is as good as it gets. This golf swing here, right? Exactly the right sort of movement patterns at the right point in the swing, right? So what I want you to start looking at is his lead leg here, right? So obviously when you start the downswing, there's a lot of pushing down under that lead foot. So there's some flexing in the knee, which is what you get to start the downswing. There, right? That's good, right? But through impact, that leg has got to start to straighten up, because what you start to see with the pressure patterns in the feet with the pros is if they hit it straight, right, if they're hooking it, they tend to keep the pressure towards their toes, right? And what you also tend to find is they keep that left leg, for you, it's your right leg, right? Your lead leg. What you start to see is that lead leg straighten up through impact and the pressure moving to the heel, right? So we have to go from a squatting position, a pushing down position, and then a straightening up position. This is the extension, moving from flexion to extension in the spine, right? So flexion there, extension there, and it all that's facilitated by the straightening of that lead leg, right? There. So if I stop him there, you can see how this lead leg is really straight. Now if I stop you in that position, you can see how this lead leg is still bent, right? Now what that's doing, keeping that lead leg bent, is it's stopping you from opening your turns enough. Your hips are too closed, and therefore your torso, your shoulders are going to be too closed, right? So if I flip you around this way, and I think this was your down the line shot, you did a few of them, sort of there. I'll stop you on that one. Maybe move it into the middle a little bit, right? And then we get a line through the club. Then what you start to see with regards to you know, I could talk a little bit about your hands moving out a little bit, right? On the takeaway, you can see how your arm kind of comes out there a little bit, but so does you know, someone like God, let's pick someone like Jon Rahm, right? You can see how his hands go out a little bit in the takeaway, right? So his arms kind of gone away from his body a little bit. I wouldn't advise this, especially for most amateurs. You want your arm being a little bit inward that way. You want your hand moving inward, not outward, right, on the start. But you know, how can you say it's wrong when one of the best players in the world does it, right? So let's use Jon Rahm as an example. Let me put a line through his shaft, right? But what I want to pay attention to is his turns coming down, right? So what we're going to pay attention to is his hips and his shoulders. So if I stop him maybe there at what we call P6, right, which is shaft parallel with the ground, and we draw a red line through his belt line, and we draw a line through his shoulders, and then we stop you at that position. It's a little bit blurry, right? Let me get rid of these lines. There you go. So if we stop you in that position, you can clearly see at that position just how closed your shoulders are, and your hips at best are square. Right, your hips at best are square. Right, we stop Jon Rahm at P6. Already by that point, look how open his hips are, and his shoulders have already got down to square, kind of over his toes. And then by impact, even more. Right, so he's going to be open even more at impact. There with his hips open with his shoulders. You look at where you are at impact. There, say, squarish with the hips, squarish with the shoulders, right? Now, what this causes, right, is your face to path relationship is always going to get close, right? Especially with the good players, right? You're an accomplished golfer, you've been playing a long time, shooting the 70s. What you're going to find with this sort of position through impact is your hands can easily overtake your body, and you just close that face too soon, right? Close that face too soon. It's also going to have a relationship with it's told with the path. You're going to generally tend to find that the path comes in. You're hitting the ball a little bit too much from the inside, right? So hitting the ball from the inside, closed with the body. Very easy for the hands to overtake the body and close the face down, and there's your hook, right? There's your hook. But the thing that's leading to that, like we said in the other video, was your left leg being your lead leg. Your lead leg. For you, it's your right leg, right? Being too flexed through impact, right? So what I would say to that is, you know, you need to straighten your lead leg by P7. P7, position 7 being impact. You need to learn to straighten your lead leg at impact, which will then make it a lot easier to get your hips more open, which then the upper torso and the shoulders will follow the hips after that. Right, that's the best way of explaining it, I think. So the drill, there you go, there's the Alex Noren. So if I zoom in here, so the drill is coming down to here, look, and this is you know, the TV camera just capturing Alex Noren practicing his golf swing. So look what he's doing as he's coming down to their P6 there, right? So look how open his hips are at that point. Look how open his shoulders are at that point, right? And then from there, then you can straighten your lead leg, right? And you're going to look how straight that is there, and look how open. So he's obviously overdoing it, right? He's obviously He's obviously overdoing it because he's working on something with his coach. And then from there, then look how low his hands come out, right? If you're turning more, your hands are going to come out low. If you're not turning enough through impact, generally you find, and you know, not all the time, but generally, and I find this with the good players that I work with, the hands are going to come out too high up here through the shoulder. You watch the good players, their hands come out a lot lower. Their hands come out underneath their shoulder, right? Let's pull someone else, Billy Horschel, so someone else who doesn't particularly take it away inside. He takes it away sort of, you know, his hands definitely don't work inside, right? And inside meaning, you know, inside his toe line, let's say. Right, so you see where his arm is there at P2, right? But you look at his turns by the time, and I love this golf swing, right? You look at his turns by the time he gets down there to P6 there. Hips open, shoulders fractionally closed. But then at impact, hips open, shoulders open, right? And then if you can get there, and legs straight, obviously, there, right? If you can get there at impact, then what you start to see is the club head, the shaft, and the hands all starting to come out underneath the shoulder, right? Whereas your club head, the shaft, and the hands are all coming out kind of through your shoulder. Right, so it's like a byproduct. You start to strain that leg up more at impact. You start to clear your hips more, which will then enable your upper body to clear more. And then you'll start to see your club, your shaft, and your hands come out lower down here. Almost feeling as though you're swinging across it. Almost feeling as though you're swinging, for you, more to the right. Right, you're gonna feel like you're swinging more over there. Right, rather than down the line. Right, that's going to be the feeling. Yeah, but with regard, like I said, with regards to drills, that's a good one. Just practice coming down to there. Right, really clear, really open. There, shoulders, there, hips, and then swing really left from there. Because you've got to build up awareness, right? You've got to do it slow to start with to teach your brain what it feels like. And then you've got to start to go a little bit faster. Do it with your short clubs first. Wedges, 9-iron, 8-iron. Build up your awareness. Tell your brain, teach your brain what it feels like, what it looks like. Build up the awareness. There you go. And you can see how low his hands are coming out there. That's the sort of feeling he's getting. Okay, mate. So those two things. I mean, in a nutshell, it's get your hips moving more forward and straighten that lead leg by impact, and then that'll have a byproduct, a knock-on effect with regards to opening the turns and all that sort of stuff. All right, mate. Any questions? Just shoot me back an email. Cheers.